It's Elektra in the case of the reappearing Red Glove in Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, #1. So there's a fight sequence that takes place in this issue between Elektra, who is Daredevil in this series, and Crossbones, who you can see on the cover. Elektra starts the scene in civilian mode, more or less. She's got a big trench coat on that covers her Daredevil costume, and she's got bare hands. But then when the actual fight portion of the scene starts, she's suddenly wearing red gloves, or her hands are suddenly wrapped in red athletic tape, whichever it is. I'm honestly not sure why I noticed that detail in particular, but it was a drawback to an otherwise really good fight sequence. It's very action movie-esque. I guess sometimes the Daredevil is in the details? On the subject of hands and fists, Elektra has an apprentice, apparently, named Alice, and she, I guess, also goes out and fights crime and stuff. And in this issue, we see her soaking her hands, her blood-soaked hands, in cold water because she's been punching so many people, her hands are injured. I really like that moment because in a genre and a universe that's not always high on realism, it feels realistic. I mean, when you spend a lot of your time punching people, you need to protect your hands and your wrists and your knuckles. I mean, there's a reason that a lot of vigilante-type superheroes wear gloves. The more you know. There's also an interesting cliffhanger at the end of this book featuring another newer character from a different Marvel book. So I'll be coming back for more on Daredevil, Woman Without Fear. It's Daredevil versus the Punisher in Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, #2. Except it's not really Daredevil. It's not really the Punisher either. I'll explain. So yeah, there's two Daredevils right now in the world of Marvel Comics. The first one is Matt Murdock, he's the one that everybody knows. And the other one is Elektra, Matt Murdock's love interest turned wife. She's the subject of this book. And in the Punisher role right now, we don't have Frank Castle, the traditional Punisher. We have Joe Garrison, a new take on the character. I really enjoyed the Punisher book that David Pepose and Dave Wachter just worked on. It was 4 issues, really easy to enjoy. Which is why I was disappointed with how the Joe Garrison Punisher was portrayed in this issue. Long story short, the Punisher's target in this issue is someone that Elektra needs to protect in order to extract some information for the case she's working on that's central to the story in this book. In essence, Garrison just kind of feels like any old hired gun character. He doesn't feel like the Punisher, which is disappointing to me given how much I enjoyed the other book. Yeah, he kind of just feels like a chump. So in the absence of his own book, I was excited to see Garrison be part of this Daredevil book, but disappointed with how he was characterized. I don't read a ton of Daredevil/Elektra comics, though I am trying to catch up. Is there a superpowered reason why Daredevil can block bullets with her sais, her daggers? It seems like that would be really, really hard to do. Can she just do it because she's a superhero? I'm just asking. Elektra is once again on a collision course with the new Punisher, Joe Garrison, in Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, #3. This issue kind of feels a little bit transitionary in the sense that its main job is to get us to the big fight between Elektra and the Punisher that we're going to get next issue, the last issue. There's nothing wrong with that from a plot perspective. I'm not knocking the issue. It's just that when you're looking at it from a sort of story analysis perspective, you can kind of see the mechanical bits, the functional pieces at work. But this issue does manage to give us another cool action sequence along the way This entire story has had great action movie-esque appeal in a way that's really complementary toward the Daredevil universe. You know, when I reviewed the second issue, I made a crack about how Elektra isn't really Daredevil and how Joe Garrison isn't really the Punisher. But I have to say, I think I'm becoming partial to these versions of the characters. I don't know if that's because the classic versions weren't as ingrained in me when I was a kid, but yeah, I'm starting to grow a real fondness for the Elektra and Joe Garrison versions of Daredevil and the Punisher. Even though that scarf thing that Elektra wears as part of her Daredevil costume does kind of defy gravity. Should they tighten that up a little bit? Things kind of come to a screeching halt in Daredevil Woman Without Fear number 4. In this issue, it feels like the story kind of ran out of time, like ran out of page space, so there's a sense of wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. And that sucks for a number of reasons, one of which being that while we do get resolution between Daredevil and her apprentice Alice, we don't necessarily get resolution between Elektra and the new Punisher. And that's really the dynamic, the conflict that this story is about. It's about Daredevil and the Punisher. To the point where I kind of wonder why they didn't just call this 4-issue miniseries Daredevil versus the Punisher. Might have brought a few more people in from a marketing standpoint. But yeah, I thought they could have gone at least one more issue with this, maybe even 2. I did have fun reading this 4-issue miniseries though, and I would be open to seeing more from this creative team on Elektra, or I guess on Elektra as Daredevil.